Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Good to have you on board here on a Thursday. We're live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Kicking off this hour, talking some college football. Pauly, a lot about to change here in the sport. It's very soon, by the way, going to look unlike anything that we've ever seen for eternity with college football. And we head out here to the Progressive Guest Line as Adam Rittenberg joins the program, does a great job covering the sport for ESPN, and he is on the Progressive Guest Line. Adam, good afternoon. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Back at you. I think college football is, most people would agree that it's about to change for the bad. So with that in mind, how would you rank like the worst of the worst with this new SEC and Big Ten proposal?
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting to see how the week has gone. With the Big Ten actually had its meetings last week in Southern California, and didn't do any media. So it's been interesting to see the SEC out and saying a lot with its coaches and athletic directors, and obviously Commissioner Greg Sankey. I think what's interesting is this debate with the number of automatic qualifiers versus one that would certainly open it up to more of the at-large teams, which I think actually could benefit the SEC. Given how strong its teams often are. So I don't like the proposals with so many automatic qualifiers. I understand why you would do that if you're, especially the Big Ten, maybe less so the SEC. But I think to have this thing as wide open as possible while trying to standardize the schedules, and that's something that people in the Big Ten have told me is really important. Because they don't play the same number of conference games, regardless of what data they want to throw out there. So I think that's a really important thing that, it's been a very, very long process, but can we get some level of standardization with the schedules in college football?
Will the SEC play 9? Where are we at with that?
I think the apocalypse will come first. I mean, it's been this thing that's been literally talked about for, more than 10 years.
Uh-huh.
The Big Ten went to 9 conference games quite a while ago. I don't have the year in front of me, but it was a while back. And obviously the Big 12 has been there as it's been playing round robin, and then it's expanded. ACC has not gone to 9; they've stayed at 8. SEC has stayed at 8, and it's created these really bizarre schedule rotations where you'll play a team much more often outside of your league than one within your league. So South Carolina plays Clemson. Georgia plays Georgia Tech. Kentucky plays Louisville a lot more often than teams that are in its own conference, which it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yep.
So, this would be a kicking and screaming type situation if and when they get to 9 conference games.
Do you like the 5+11?
Yeah, I like it more. I think, again, if you're going to keep championship weekend, which we can certainly discuss whether it's worth keeping, but if you're going to crown a champion, I think that's an incentive to win the championship and clinch a spot in the playoff. And, and then that game is important, even for the team that loses, to potentially, help their at-large case or hurt their at-large case. And then, the committee is not perfect, but it's used in pretty much every college sport to put teams into the postseason. And, I think again, if the schedules can be a little bit more even, I think that can be a way to do this. My positions may be different than a lot of people's. I just believe that the system is big enough that the right teams are going to make it in, the teams that can actually win a national championship. Mm-hmm. And so we're talking about the teams that are at the bottom that are probably going to be eliminated in the first round. So is it really that big of an ego boost? I get the financial piece, but from my perspective, I'm fine with a more diverse field at the bottom, meaning more teams from more leagues, because the right SEC teams and the right Big Ten teams and Notre Dame, when it's capable of winning a national championship, they will be in the playoff every single year now that it's tripled in size and may soon quadruple in size from 4 to 16.
Yeah. What's the most amount of losses you think a team's going to get into the playoff in the upcoming years? 8-4, I think, is absolutely going to happen. Can you foresee a 7-5 team getting in?
I sure hope not. I mean that's where, again, I think why we need a selection committee, because if they're putting an 8-4 SEC Big Ten team in over a 10-2 ACC or Big 12 team, then you're doing something wrong. I mean, a 4-loss team shouldn't really make the playoff. I think it's going to be mostly 1, 2, and 3 loss teams. You don't have a lot of undefeateds. Oregon was the only undefeated last year, but I still think you're going to have a decent number, at least, of 2 loss teams, even with these big conferences and tougher schedules. So I think the 14 playoff was a beauty contest of 1 loss teams. The 12 or 16 team playoff or 14 team, wherever they land, is going to be more of a beauty contest between, I would say, 3 loss teams.
Yeah, I'm with you, too, about the committee. I saw your retweet from the Florida AD who doesn't want a committee. Well, how are you going to pick the teams then? What's he talking about?
Well, again, I think every perspective has to be looked at through where he's coming from. Florida's never made the college football playoff. So if maybe for them, having a 4th automatic qualifier in the SEC is beneficial, that they could work their way in to that number 4 spot. But I think, again, if Florida, and they play a tough schedule many years, including this year, and they did last year, if they go out and post a 10-2 or a 9-3, they're going to have a really good opportunity to make the playoff, if not this year, beginning in 2026.
So if they want a minimum amount of teams in, right, the 4 guaranteed, should we be able to counter, or the committee or whomever else, and say, well, okay, we'll give you the minimum, but there's also going to be a maximum, right? Like there's not going to be a year where you're going to get 7 teams into the field because that's just going to be way too many.
Well, yeah, if you do the math, again, if it goes to that, what was it, 4, 4, 2, 2, 1, sounds like a phone number, that then there would only be 3 at-large spots left. And Notre Dame, or with 4-4, is what I'm bad at now. Yeah, 13. So only 3 at-large spots left. Unless Notre Dame has a pretty disastrous season, it's going to be able to scoop up one of those spots. So you're really only talking about 2 more at-larges. So I think the max for a league in that scenario would really be 6. And I just don't see that happening very, very often. Maybe in a certain year where the league is really good at the top and really good in that sort of second level. But that wouldn't have happened in the Big Ten last year. I mean, the Big Ten had a massive drop-off after its 4 teams that made the playoff. The SEC's argument is that we didn't have maybe the best team last year, but we had a lot of teams that would have been in the playoff had there been more at-large spots. And rather than putting a second ACC team in or whoever, Indiana, we should have had that spot. And I think in some years they'll be right, in some years they won't be. And again, it doesn't matter to me that much because the teams that are supposed to win the national championship, Indiana was never winning the national championship. Guess what? Neither was last year's Georgia team. And you saw that in the quarterfinal. And Notre Dame, I know the score wasn't that lopsided, but Notre Dame beat them down. And Georgia was not going to win the national championship. Neither was Texas. That happens some years. But the right teams were in, and the right teams got to the final game in Ohio State and Notre Dame.
Let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Adam Rittenberg, does a great job covering college football for ESPN, and he is on the Progressive Guest Line. Do you think the timeline, the dates, would they stay like in the same time frame that we have right now if we have the title game still and championship Saturday? Because the first round playoff games at these home sites were kind of affected because of the winter break. And then right now it goes until about January 20th. Is that going to be similar to all these games getting done by January 20th and that winter break involved, or would they have to tinker with that a little bit?
Not with a 4-round playoff. You would just have more games on that first weekend. And then you'd have unknown matchups, obviously, coming out of that first weekend going into the quarterfinal round. But the question is, does the entire schedule move? There's some coaches that would like to start the season in mid to late August and move the start up a week rather than Labor Day weekend for week one.
That's good.
That would obviously, create a little bit more room in December. You completely get rid of conference championship games and start the quarterfinal round. The first round on championship weekend, and then play the quarterfinals where the current first-round games are played. And then you could have the semifinals on New Year's, and the championship game would be more or less where it was under the BCS or under the 14 playoff system. So then you'd be wrapped up a lot earlier in January. I mean, Dave Doran from NC State, he's in favor of starting the season in mid-August. Now, it's pretty hot there in Raleigh. It's pretty hot where you guys are. It's pretty hard to play games there on August 17th, but maybe that's something they have to look at.
Should we scrap the whole thing and just go back to bowl games and that's it?
No, and the reason again, the old college football postseason was bad.
Yeah,
I mean, almost every sport has the other problem where the regular season's bad and the playoffs are awesome. It was the reverse in college football. where you had this awesome regular season and then really kind of a downer of a postseason.
You're right.
With a lot of questions and stupid debates and everybody, who split national champion. Like, who wants a sport with a split national champion? That's an absolute joke. Mm-hmm. So this is America. We want a champion. We love playoffs in this country. So it was going to go to a playoff system. It's just which playoff system best suits the sport is what they're trying to figure out.
All right. Is there a team that you love as of right now going into next year? I mean, based on like odds or where they might be, and you think they have a great shot based on the schedule and their talent overall to make a deep run?
Well, I look at Penn State. A lot of these teams that made the playoff last year and made deep runs are replacing quarterbacks, including both teams that played for a national title. Penn State brings back its quarterback in Drew Aller. They have their two running backs who are outstanding that are both there. They retain some really good defensive players, even though they lose Abdul Carter. I mean, they seem like a team, like if not now, when, to really compete for and win a national championship. Now, there's other teams you can make a case for, whether it's Texas or Georgia or Ohio State or whoever, but it just has that Oregon. It feels like Penn State, things have set up well for them to take that next step and really make a run for a national title.
Awesome perspective, Adam. Thank you. That was a fun conversation. We appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Follow Adam Rittenberg on X. He is at ESPN Rittenberg, and he was on the Progressive guest line.
Play-in games, the worst idea.
Horrible.
Big Ten, SEC get 4 auto bids, the second worst. The third worst idea is probably a 16-team play. Who wants 16? How do we get to 16?
Well, let's talk about that, and we'll run down like title odds and what you're going to have to do moving forward to bet the stuff coming up here on VSiN.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We'll hit Major League Baseball coming up in 15 minutes. Chris Bennett, sportsbook manager, does a great job here at Circa Sports, going to join us in studio at 5:30 Eastern. We'll go over, they just posted, by the way, moments ago, a little bit longer than that anyway, most wins in the month of June here at Circa with the odds. What a difference, by the way, between sportsbooks and the odds every single month that you can find on some of these teams. Mm-hmm. And we'll ask them about trying to avoid getting absolutely buried on bettors taking the Rockies every single game as well. You don't like the idea of 16 games as a playoff in college football?
16's too many.
Because you're going to have 4 lost teams?
That too, and then realistically, how many teams can win it? I mean, to go from 4 and then to 16, it's just, for a sport that just for years said regular season so important, every game matters, and now you're going to have four lost teams get in, you're going to 16. And how you're going to get there is the big reason, the big thing as well. I like the 5 plus 11. Just 4 auto bids is so stupid.
I hate it.
Because, number one, I'm glad someone finally said it, and it was Brian Kelly. The Big Ten runs it right now. They've won the title the last 2 years. So as much as the SEC wants to talk about the last 20 years, I'll counter and say you sucked before that. And the only thing that got you going was the BCS, which was created by your former commissioner, and then ESPN became Protect the Brand, and CBS as well, with what they're doing with the, week in, week out grind nonsense. But you just can't go in. You don't know how this is going to work out. And I'm glad finally the ACC and the Big 12 stepped in and said, hey, how about what's good for the sport? You guys ever think about that? 40's going to lose his mind tomorrow because he's been there. And I can't wait to talk to him tomorrow from Sports Illustrated. When he was doing his podcast, he's like, guys, and he's talking to the SEC and Big Ten, you have every single advantage. Why do you need more?
Sure.
How much money do you need? You got 7 bids last year. You're going to get
Not enough.
Right, because of what Alabama didn't get in.
Yeah, that's
if
why.
anyone got screwed, it was Miami last year. They at least, the losses were close. Alabama embarrassed themselves, and Saban's gone, so...
South Carolina had a better... They deserved in more than Alabama did.
I could say that as well, how you were playing at that time, no doubt. But to just say, well, we only got 7, it's not good enough. And what Kiffin was doing, too, was asinine.
Oh, by the way,
you lost to Florida. You got beat at home by Kentucky. Sit down and shut up.
Do people forget that before Nick Saban got to Alabama, they were chumps?
Yeah.
Alabama stunk before Saban got there for a long time. They were a non-factor.
Right.
To your point, mostly the SEC was a non-factor as well before the BCS.
Sure. And then a lot of it was standing on Alabama's shoulders and saying you were tall. You did have the couple years with LSU, and then Kirby turned Georgia into a juggernaut. Well, Texas is going to be a juggernaut because of NIL, and they're going to spend so much money. I don't know about Alabama. I think DeBoer's a good coach, but look what happened last year. And then Georgia's always going to be in the mix. I don't know about the other teams. I mean, can A&M win a big game? Can A&M take the big step? Kiffin? You saw how he performs in big games? Kelly's been a disappointment at LSU. Tennessee lost their quarterback. Florida, Auburn, Oklahoma? I don't know.
Here's the thing. You don't like the 4 automatic for the SEC or the Big Ten. I don't think there should be automatic for any conference, and I pointed this out to you last week when we talked about this. Didn't you say that the Big 12 and the ACC wanted 3 automatic?
I think that's ridiculous, too.
No,
that's
under no circumstance.
That's what, McMurphy counted with that.
But I would also tell you that there will probably be seasons when those conferences don't deserve 2.
Sure.
So why does anybody... And
that's dangerous.
The Notre Dame stuff, by the way, they're automatically in?
It appears that way.
So if they're 9-3, are the fight? They're just in?
Yes.
That's it. There you go. There's your path. 9-3. You're in every single year. How dumb is that?
Right.
I don't like any of it. So... I originally liked the idea of going to 16 because it was standard and every team was going to play the same amount of games in or had a chance at that point. But I also think if you're going to, I can have a right to change my mind, right? I think there is something to maybe giving the teams that are most rewarding a bye week like we saw last year.
Yeah, Oregon again didn't get anything. Oregon's the only team that went undefeated, and nothing happened.
Well, they got a bye week, but that was it, and they had the most difficult path out of any team.
Yeah, but also, how are you going to seed? And how are you going to determine who gets in? For the Florida AD to say we don't need a committee. I mean, but the other thing is how are you going to see this? Because under the one scenario, like the conference, the top 4 teams were going to play each other, and it would have been Texas, Georgia, Penn State, and Oregon. Well, then the conference title games would have been meaningless. You could have sat people. You don't want to get anyone hurt.
Yeah, that's another one.
That's another, because there was no benefit to getting some. So every day the ideas get worse.
Oh, this latest
one
here
says
is
something
just
stupid. How about Sankey, the SEC commissioner? Well, right now it's just don't lose games being more important than quality of opponents. Well, okay, it worked out how it was funky with Indiana and how they got in and they didn't play anybody. But also, your team's embarrassed you. Don't lose at home to Kentucky. Don't lose to Vanderbilt.
They move the goalpost every single time. So there's never been anything consistent with the SEC or now what's turning into the Big Ten as well.
Yeah.
They're not. They're just going to change it whenever to try to benefit them at the time. They're never going to stick with one argument ever. And the fact that they never moved to 9 conference games tells you all you need to know.
That's right.
Should have happened 20 years ago. Pac-12 did it forever.
Right. Big Ten did it in 2017.
Yeah. So
we're not playing the same game here.
And think about this for a second, too. Again, I cannot be convinced that conference title games are a good idea. I hate them. I have for a long, long time. But if we keep them, so now you're talking about a 13th game there for all those teams involved.
Right.
So then with a 16-team playoff, teams are going to be playing 16, 17 games this year? Or every single year moving forward?
That's a good point.
That's way too many games.
It's way too many games, and it goes too long. You're talking about the title game in late January now. It's going to be hot, okay, but I actually don't mind moving it up to mid-August. But
one thing that they, based on that and why they should move it up to mid-August, I don't think that we should have the first round games on home sites during the winter break. It's a bad idea.
Uh-huh.
School has to be in session. Makes so much more sense for the student body to show up there.
Well, what do you think from a future standpoint?
I want...
the one thing you said last week with McMurphy was spot on, though. Changing the seat, which they already have done, which we talked about last week. There's not going to be what happened last year with Boise and Arizona State. The little guy really has no shot.
I will not bet any little guys anymore. And like I said last week, I took Arizona State immediately last year as soon as the odds came out at, 300-1, I believe? Well, they had a bye last year. And before that news came out late last week that they're going to change that now, I mean, do I really like my chances with a team that has to go through a 12 or a 16 game schedule without getting the bye? If they're not ranked in the top 4, absolutely not. That adds an additional game. So I can't. First of all, I would probably eliminate most schools from a conference like the Big 12 and most schools from the ACC, and then forget about it with teams like Boise State. I just, there's no way. You're burning money, in my opinion.
Yeah. And if I'm...
Maybe to make the playoff, that's an entirely different way to bet it.
I'm glad the Big 12 and the ACC came out with that statement, and I also would call their bluff. If they don't get their way and they're going to break off and do their own thing, then let them. And they can be the biggest villains in sports. Then go ahead. And go to hell. If you want to do that, fine. Because as 40 has said, you get every single advantage, but yet you want more. That is so dangerous to say we want 4 bids no matter what, guaranteed every single year. Yeah. You don't know what's going to happen. Who knows? Oh, you have all these teams. You don't know. SMU could turn into a powerhouse. It could flip. Some of these, Alabama could fall apart. Look, go back. Miami was a powerhouse. Nebraska was a powerhouse. Oklahoma. What happened then? I mean, this stuff changes. One bad hire, you get caught doing something stupid. You never know.
By the way, look at the odds board to win the whole thing. Notre Dame, non-conference there, or I should say with no conference, 12-1, 12-1 to win the whole thing. They're the first team outside of the Big 12. I'm sorry, the Big 10 or the SEC on the odds board, followed by Clemson out of the ACC. Then every other team, Miami's on there, but they're either Big 10 or mostly SEC. You have to go down beyond South Carolina at 50-1 to even find another team. I think it's going to be like that forever. Give me the team. You brought up SMU. Give me the team out of the Big 12 that's going to step up and be able to challenge on an annual basis, and they have the NIL money, and they have the coaching staff to put it together.
BYU. No?
And they're 150-1.
Yeah.
Kansas State's 80-1. That's probably where they're going to be every single year, and they have no shot to win it.
They were close last year, but BYU had some close losses. The other thing goes back to how much do you need? How much is enough? They're tinkering with the college basketball. They're going to do that too.
That's going to happen by next year.
So how much are they going to add there? If you want to add 4, okay, so we get a couple more playing games. But then I don't trust these guys.
No, they said 72 or 76, but
if they jack it up to 76, can you imagine the crap that's on the bubble?
Well, then they're going to probably go to 90 plus at some point.
And it won't be mid-majors either.
No, of course not.
That's the other thing. It's like, you have to step back and say what's good for the sport. Just watered down, as Fat 40 said. Not here, you're right, but Las Vegas watered down cocktails. It's ridiculous how they'd water this thing down then.
Yep.
The crap that would get in.
All right, you can get VSiN's exclusive betting splits for as little as $9.99 for your first month. Get started today at vsin.com/subscribe. You can check out the splits and compare them at DraftKings and also Circa. And speaking of that, Chris Bennett from Circa is going to join us up next, Sportsbook Manager here. How is he booking the Rockies on a daily basis to avoid a debacle? And we'll get into odds for most wins in June next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Welcome back. We're live downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. This is going to be a fun conversation as Chris Bennett joins the program now. He is the sportsbook manager at this great property and beyond for Circa Sports. Good to see you today. Thanks for popping in today. How's everything going?
Great. Enjoying the late May baseball action we're seeing.
Only 5 games today. Little weird.
Very light slate given Memorial Day was busy on Monday.
Yep. So we'll get into most wins in June, which you just posted now at Circa Sports earlier today. But before that, I saw that you responded on X to a writer at ESPN.com, and the headline was, "Why the 2025 Colorado Rockies are every bookmaker's nightmare." You responded to the author on X saying, "Hit me up, Doug Greenberg. I'm a bookmaker, and I can make the price anything I want." You guys take a lot of sharp money here. Your response tells me that you guys are not getting buried on the Rockies. Is that accurate?
We certainly can be from time to time, but it's entirely under our control. We can make the price anything we want. If people aren't betting the Rockies at plus 270, then we should probably raise them, because there is a price where they're going to bet them, where we can confidently say it is a good bet despite how bad they are. And I'm very comfortable making those moves finding where the sharps want to get involved with the Rockies. And I don't think you're a very good bookmaker if you just sit back and get piled on money on the favorite and don't make any sort of effort to offer a different price than your competitors and find interest on the other side.
And you guys have had no problem doing that for the most part this year.
No, baseball is such a competitive sport. We're talking about a team that still has a 25% chance to win a lot of these games. This isn't like college football where you have a team favored by 50 points and you know they can't lose. So people want to talk about baseball in extremes, but it's really not appropriate. Yes, this Rockies team looks historically bad, but we can put them on the board at 5-1 every day, and we'd write a ton of Rockies money and be very uncomfortable with that liability.
Sure. So it sounds to me like you're embracing booking the Rockies this year. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think it's fun. We've had some games recently where they were huge underdogs at home, where they've been like somewhat scrappy over the last few years, able to score some runs. And, you know, we find those prices where sharp customers want to bet the Rockies, and they'll pretty much bet as much as we'll let them bet. And when we, find that interest, we feel much more comfortable about taking bets against the Rockies and believing that if we write fairly balanced action, that this is all going to work out in the long run. But yeah, if we're just sitting back saying, all right, this is what other books are offering on the Rockies, we got to stay close to that number. Nobody's betting them. All they're doing is betting against the Rockies, and the Rockies are losing every day. Like, we have no one to blame but ourselves.
Okay. The one thing I love about your app is $1,000, $5,000, $10,000. You put in it right away, it takes it. Mitch has had a problem in the last couple weeks, maybe longer, and with something we discussed before about the spinning, rejecting, and moving the number. How do the frustration level and how books are allowed to get away with that, where I'm giving you information and you're taking it and using it against me?
Yeah, the functionality of the mobile apps does have some variation. So I know our competitors often have a functionality where if you try to risk or win a certain amount, the bet will come up for an approval. And, you're just relying on somebody you can't see or talk to on the other end making a decision on if they'll accept that bet or what they're going to reoffer. And, hopefully they're not rejecting it entirely, but I know that happens as well. Mm-hmm. The way our app works, there's just some set limit of risk amount or win amount, and you can have that much, and there is no approval process. If you want to bet more than whatever that limit setting is, then you just need to wait, give us an opportunity to move the line, or there's a set time interval, and once that passes, you can come right back and bet the market again.
Great answers. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Chris Bennett, he is the sportsbook manager here at Circa Sports. You're in charge of, I love this market. I think I've been betting it now for 3 straight years. It's the most wins in a given month for Major League Baseball. It's fun. It's exciting. It comes down to the wire, by the way. I think every single month, with the exception of 2 years ago in April when the Rays won like the first 13 games and they ran away with it then, you're in charge of that. I'm not asking you to give away like the secret formula, but there is, right, like something that you have put together that's like the formula for creating the odds. And can you give us any details on it at all?
Well, I just got out of the laboratory a little bit ago working on the most wins in June market. And the funny thing is, people who don't know what it looks like on the inside of a sportsbook operation think everything we do is super sophisticated, and we've got models and algorithms and computers basically spitting out the answers, the correct probabilities for things. And it's really not like that at all. I'm using various, tools and resources, and I'm reasonably good with numbers, but to make the odds for this prop, like, I already have an opinion of how good the teams are relative to one another. I keep up with like the injury situations. I know what the lineups look like every day. I know what the rotations look like. And then I just look at each team's schedule for the upcoming month. And not every team is scheduled to play the same number of games. And the strength of schedule is what causes the most variation in the odds. And that's where I really try to dial in and see, okay, who's got a favorable schedule here for the upcoming month? Because even if they're not one of the best teams in Major League Baseball, they're going to have a good chance to have the most wins during that month.
Okay, okay. Here's the follow-up to that then. Because the Tigers are playing unbelievable baseball 2 months in. They play 26 games this month. 15 of those are at home. Other teams play as many as 28. However, they have 4 against the White Sox, 3 against the Orioles, 3 against the Reds, the Pirates, and the A's. I saw Caesars open 16. I think they were higher than that from what I understand on Detroit. The first number that I saw on the Tigers here at Circa was 5. Is that the opening number on them?
Yes.
So how much does that schedule and how good they are outweigh them having 2 fewer games than other teams this month?
So I will point out that I make these odds on my own without looking at anything.
Oh, okay. Very good.
I'm aware that Caesars is making odds on this as well. And, for this upcoming month, they published theirs before we published ours today. But I don't want to be influenced by anybody else's numbers. So I make my odds. I get it set to the precise margin that I want the market to be offered at. And I do take a look at what they have as well, because it's possible I made some glaring error in my assessment and wouldn't want to offer a certain team at certain odds as a result. But I'm willing to be very different from them and others.
I've noticed, yeah.
And so I just hang what I think are the most accurate odds. And that's what's really interesting about this market right now is there's not that many books offering it and not that many people sort of poring over things to really make the numbers converge, at least at the outset here. For the Tigers specifically, I think they have a pretty favorable schedule for this upcoming month. I know they don't have as many games scheduled as some other teams, but they've just been a really good team overall. Yes, when Scooble's out there, they're probably going to be a huge favorite, but their lineup's been very good. The bullpen is solid, and the rest of the rotation is at least holding their own. Mm-hmm. So I think they've got a really good chance to have the most wins in June.
Yeah, I trust me. I regret not taking 16-1 in the Tigers. I have them this month at 16-1. And they're not going to pull it off. Now, if the Phillies win tonight, I think it's pretty much over with because then they'll have 20 wins and the Tigers will have 18 along with the Cardinals. So it's going to be tough, but I'm with you. The schedule's set up for them. And there are 2 teams as well that I'm looking at. The Yankees are like 5-1. Boy, the Yankees have an incredible path here in June, in my opinion, just to go on a rampage.
Yes, I also think the Yankees have a very favorable schedule. Just look at their money line prices on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. This is a very highly rated team. There was negativity when Garrett Cole went down preseason, but obviously Aaron Judge is like one of the best hitters of all time, but other guys are contributing both in the lineup and in the rotation. So I made them the favorite for the month of June on the opener at plus 425. There's also 2 other teams I want to point out that have been a disappointment so far this season, but they have favorable schedules for June. The Diamondbacks and the Rangers. And those teams are always interesting to me because I look at them on paper and say, they're better than what their record is. They've got this favorable schedule here. I don't know what price people want to bet them at, but I know I don't want to go crazy high just because they haven't done well to this point of the season.
That was awesome. Yeah. Very good conversation. Thank you for popping in today. I really appreciate that. And good luck with everything moving forward and the rest of this month for sure.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Chris Bennett, Sportsbook Manager here at Circa Sports. I'm also, you know what, I'll hold on to that. I have another team that I want to talk about maybe for the month of June here for the most wins. They're sitting at about 20-1. We'll tell you about that and get into other props on tonight's betting board coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
All right, so I'll tell you about a couple of other teams to take a look at. Most wins in June. They're up now here at Circa. For those of you who live in a state with Circa, there are 5 of them. Caesars offers, DraftKings offers as well. DK keeps them up the entire month, by the way, the odds there. The team I was talking about, the Giants. 27 games. That's one more than Detroit. Some teams have 28, but they play 27-16 at home. So here's you want the good news or the bad news first?
Bad.
They have the Padres, Braves and Dodgers. The good news is 3 against the Rockies, 3 against Miami, 3 against the White Sox. They're in the 20-1 range. The Yankees are 5-1. Here at Circa, they're plus 525. They play 27 games, 16 at home. Red Sox for 6, Angels for 4, Orioles, Reds, and the A's. I rarely go to war with a team around 5-1. I might do it with the Yankees. And the Dodgers are 8-1.
Why didn't you take the 16 on Detroit? Because when I looked, their schedule jumped out too.
Because I'm an idiot?
How good they are, but that's...
I'll tell you, I'm never going to do it again. The Cubs nearly pulled off most wins in May. I was staring at 14-1 at Caesars, and I'm like, I'm going to wait to see what Chris opens up here. He opened up 4.
Oh, God.
So when I see a number at Caesars from now on or wherever else, I'm going to be like, I just got to take it. And he's right. Caesars opens up a couple days probably before Circa every single time.
They also they have a different tiebreaker system, though,
They do. Dead heat over there. Here it comes down to fewest wins as a first.
You can have a dead heat. You're right.
Yep.
That won't happen here.
Put it this way. As a guy holding Detroit 16-1, I will gladly sign up for a dead heat right now this month because they're not going to pull it off and win it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So I would take that. And the Cardinals are intriguing. But the thing is, can they sustain this level of play?
Yes.
They have 28 games.
This is over a 30-game sample size now.
Yeah. So here the St. Louis Cardinals month of June. 28 games overall, 16 at home. They get the Rangers, Royals, Blue Jays, Brewers, White Sox, and Reds. That to me seems like it would be in the mix for 19, 20 wins again for the Cardinals potentially there. So anyway, if you've never bet it,
it's fun.
Most wins in a given month. I'm here to tell you, and I've been saying it for 2 years now, it's like the best thing going in baseball. It's incredible. What are you looking at for props tonight, Pauly?
Robertson, shots on goal over. Now it's 1.5 for Dallas, $2, and also 2.5 is plus money. Depends however you want to look at that and how you want to bet. If you think the juice is too high, then you can go 2.5 at plus money. He has 11 shots on goal in his last 3 games. I think you get a huge effort out of Dallas tonight at home with their season on the line. They have they're 7-1 in their last 8 home games since the Game 1 loss against Colorado. I don't mind Nugent Hopkins props as well. Again, 4 straight multi-point games. That is plus 350. Will he do it again? And he would. The last guy to do it was Gretzky, believe it or not. So historic run here for what Nugent Hopkins is doing with Edmonton. Also, NBA. This is unique, but at DK they offer turnovers for players. Brunson is averaging more than 4 turnovers a game in this series. Cat is expected to be limited. Brunson, ball dominant, going to take a ton of shots and have the ball. His total turnover is only 2.5 tonight. And he's averaging 4 a game for the series.
Okay.
So that's a deep dive and a look there as well. And I don't mind Cat props under tonight based on the knee, and that's given him problems. And who knows how long he can go tonight.
You're telling me that somebody that you trust that knows a lot about the Knicks reached out to you and said, I think he's going to be limited?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And I believe him, and I think that'll be the case.
But then do you not want to go back with Josh Hart stuff?
You could do that too. That's right. But then again, I've been cold with some of these, and I'm on the guy. I'm on the right player the wrong day. They go off, not on him, but come back. Okay, this guy's that doesn't happen.
Yep.
So that's been odd here, but that's a couple of things to look at, and I don't mind going back to jump around. Sorry, I don't mind Skinner saves over either. I think Dallas can throw a lot of rubber at him tonight, and I think you're going to get their best effort. And I would that is 23.5, 24.5, depends where you shop for Skinner's saves over. And based on that number, I think it's gone over 4 or 5, or 3 or 4. So
I dare you. I dare you right now to bet Skinner to throw a shutout tonight. Come on. You love the guy. You're not panicking at all. You think that his chances to win the Conn Smythe are...
What do I tell you, though? What do I tell you, though, about that position? Confidence is key.
Yeah.
It's the number one thing. And I've been there.
It's You were there for 2 weeks 27 years ago.
He's on top of the world right now. I mean, Davis is right. He's strutting around like Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
I mean, he has so much confidence. Go back to what do you think he felt like in Game 2 against the Kings? He's like, "Get me the hell out of here! I need a diaper."
Right.
This is ridiculous. No confidence.
Say that?
But now he couldn't stop a beach ball, and now you can't score on him. What he's doing.
Got to tell you, that strut from Conor McGregor or Vince McMahon is like the most confident strut that you can possibly come up with. Nothing can stop you when you walk into a place like that. Mm-hmm. All right, you're on a mission. Let me give you some baseball stuff later on tonight. Acuna.
It's 24.5 over 130 at DraftKings, by the way.
Okay. Right. Acuna against Zach Wheeler, lifetime.
Yep.
255 average and 51 at bats. 4 doubles, 4 home runs. Guy's been hot since he came back. He did not start the first game, came in right away, had a couple of hits. I think he scored a run. Matt Olson in his career, 2 homers off Wheeler as well. Now, Wheeler has pitched a lot of games and a lot of innings, so there's going to be a big sample size here. Ozzie Albies and Marcell Ozuna each have 2 homers off Wheeler. To boot, and you brought this up earlier, Kyle Schwarber against Chris Sale. Only 9 at-bats, 4 hits, 2 of those over the fence, and 1 for a triple. So, the first time that these 2 guys pitched against each other earlier this year, we had fireworks. But that's only 1 game, so very small, and to think that it's going to repeat itself, I think might be a mistake. Yep. I like the under first 3 in that game at 1.5 plus money.
I'll give you 3 guys that are hot right now. Wilson for the A's, 9 hits, last 16 at bats. Wood hitting .378, 4 bombs, 15 RBIs last 10 games. As you mentioned, back-to-back games with a home run. And Altuve, 12 hits in his last 25 at bats, if you want to do some props. And I know Gore's going tonight, your buddy, and number 1 in Ks. And Seattle is what, fourth highest K rate.
Yeah, against lefties, it's 25%. So his K numbers in the month of May, it's 5 starts. 9 versus the 4 starts so far. 9 versus the Reds, 7 against the Cardinals, 9 against the Orioles, 9 against the Giants as well. He has touched 8+ Ks in 6 out of his 11 starts. He's hit 9 or double digits in a bunch of them as well. I played that over immediately last night. It changed, so I can't exactly tell you to go out and bet over 7.5 at even money. However, I'm looking at some projections right now, and of a site that I trust anyway, they have him with a really good game tonight. They're telling you that based on their numbers, like him to get to 8, 9, or 10 is more likely than to be 7 or fewer. So if you wanted to play some alt numbers on him, ladder him up to like 9+ or 10+, or maybe even get nuts and go beyond that, I wouldn't hate it. I probably wouldn't make it that big of a bet at this point because the numbers were better last night. That's the reason why, but I got to keep going to the well with this guy. And in the WNBA, the Wings are in action against the Sky.
I like the Wings.
They're laying 2.5.
Yep.
The total did move 2 points from the opener. It makes sense, right? The Sky are playing in all these high-scoring games. Angel Reese's prop is about 12.5 or 13.5 for the rebounds.
Yeah.
Her points prop is 12.5. Paige Becker's tonight, 14.5 or 15.5. 3-2 to the under, but her assist prop now is 6.5. She is 3-2 over that number on the year, and keep in mind Chicago plays in these games that go to the moon. And the other one, Golden State plays Liberty tonight. They just played. This opened up 18.5. A little bit of money here on the Valkyries. But the Liberty's team totals in the 5 games they played so far this year, in order, 95, 90, 99, and 92. Only 4 games, my apologies. Tonight's team total is 90.5. They just beat them. They scored 95 points.
Right. Good. All tickets cash the same. And another fun one at Will Hill and Caesars. Will there be a dunk in the first 3 minutes of the game is plus $1.10? Yes. It's happened 3 of the last 4. Fun market. 3 or more is 20-1.
3? Come on, where'd you get 3?
Fun prop, right? Will there be a dunk in the first 3 minutes? Will there be 2? 6-1.
Utah. Give
That's
me 3.
Right. $500 try from GBank First Bet and Visa. And all you need to do is open a GBank Visa Signature credit card in the first 90 days. Deposit and play through $1,000 at First Bet to trigger the $500 trifecta. You get $200 in cashback rewards on your GBank Visa Signature card. And First Bet will give you a $100 deposit match, and we'll complete it at VSiN with the free subscription through August 31st, $200 value, the $500 trifecta from GBank, First Bet, and VSiN. VSiN.com/GBank. This one-time promotion limited to customers opening a new account. Apply today. Get up there.
If you missed this hour, just tuning in right now, boy, the guests were awesome. Adam Rittenberg, Chris Bennett was so good from Circa. You can go back and listen on the Follow the Money podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Busy third hour of the program next here on VSiN.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.